Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining me. You know, it's been a while since I uploaded a video. I've been on a bit of a reading hiatus as well as a video making hiatus. So, yeah, it's been a while, but, recently I actually had the opportunity to get away for a while, which was a much needed vacation, get away from work and get away from, my routine and go somewhere different. My partner and I actually went to Rome, and then we spent a couple days in Florence, and then we wound up in Lisbon, Portugal for a few days. But the vacation actually started out about 3 weeks ago with a meetup in New York City with Mark over at Richardson Reads, the channel Richardson Reads. I actually met up with him and his wife and a couple of his friends in New York City, and we had a day of it. I'm telling you, we went all over New York, and so that's actually what I call the kickoff of this vacation. It wasn't it was a couple of days later before we actually went to Rome, but I consider the vacation having started that day because it was such a great time. I'm terrible at taking pictures. He actually has a couple of pictures. He did a nice video on our meetup, and so I'll link to the video that he did below. But a couple of bookish aspects of that day. First of all, we went to the New York Public Library. I had lost the cap I normally wear, and when I'm out a lot on sunny days, and we had a beautiful day, for New York. New York had actually been pretty dismal earlier that week. I had been there all week for work thing, and the day that I was there with Mark and his wife and friends just turned out to be a beautiful day, but it was sunny, so I needed a cap. So our first stop, we met up in Bryant Park, and we went to the New York Public Library, so that I bought a cap to wear throughout the day at the New York Public Library. There's their lion logo, and they're in the back, New York Public Library. So yeah, we went all over the city. I don't know how many miles my phone logged that I walked that day, but it was a lot. I was limping by the time I took the train and got back home down to the DC area where I live. But one stop we made was a very famous bookstore, the Strand Bookstore in New York City, and I picked up this little gem, The Letters of Abelard and Heloise. This is a Penguin Classics book. I have been wanting to read this forever and ever, and I have never gotten around to reading it. And I keep thinking, it'll come into my mind periodically, like, yeah, I want to get around to reading the letters, Abelard and Heloise's letters. And this was actually on the discount bins outside, and so I got this for $1. So I will be reading this probably this year sometime, and I'll get a chat up on it when I do get it read. So yeah, got this hat, got this book, and I had a great day with Mark and his wife and his friends in New York City. So then a couple of days later, I had to work for a couple more days. But then I went on on my vacation. We flew out and went to Rome. So we spent, I think, 7 or 8 days in Rome. So it was a good stretch in Rome. So Rome is one of these cities that I have always wanted to travel to. It was the first time I'd ever gone there. Because if you've seen my channel very much, you know that I love Stoicism. I love Roman Stoicism, that Roman era of Stoicism, as well as Roman history. So ancient history, I've done quite a lot of book chats about various topics of Roman history. So while I was there, one place we wanted to make sure we took a stop at was the Ara Pacis, which is it was like a temple to peace. Built by Augustus, and I think it was in the first decade of the Common Era, so I don't remember the exact year offhand, maybe like 9 or 7 AD. But yeah, this is a guidebook to that, so it's just everything you wanted to know about the friezes and the artwork that's actually on the temple that survives. The temple is actually completely enclosed now. This is actually a really good sort of picture of it. This is another kind of book that I got there. This is the Res Gesti, and I may be pronounced. There's apparently several different ways to pronounce that, so I may be pronouncing that somewhat wrong. It's a legal term. It really means, like the acts, what happened. And so it starts out. It's in the full thing here in Latin and then also in English. And the title of it is The Deeds of the Divine Augustus by which he brought the world under the Roman Empire, and of the expenses he bore for the Republic and for the people of Rome. So yeah, the Res Gesti, and here's the Ara Pacis. So this was really cool. We actually went on a tour of this, like a cyber tour. It was you put on these like alternate reality, virtual reality glasses, and it was able to kind of recreate the period. You could 360 degrees. It was you were kind of in ancient Rome in the time of what it looked like at the time, as well as what the environment around it looked like at the time. So that was really super cool. And then while we were there at their bookstore, they had these really cute little editions of the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, as well as the Letters from a Stoic by Seneca. The Letters from a Stoic, I've actually chatted that, so I'll link to the chat down below. I read it electronically, though, so I didn't have a hard copy book. These are little Penguin Classic books. Aren't they cute? And I just thought they were such pretty editions that I picked those up while I was there as well. So that's kind of my bookish aspects of, oh no, one more thing I wanted to mention was the Titus, the Arch of Titus. So I haven't read this book yet. I had kind of hoped to get to this book maybe on the trip, but I didn't. Actually, I didn't. So this is Rome and Jerusalem by Martin Goodman, The Clash of Ancient Civilizations. This is all about the Jewish revolt against Rome, where the temple in Jerusalem and the temple of the Jews, was actually completely destroyed in the year 70 AD. And interestingly, the Arch of Titus is actually still in Rome. And so, we had an opportunity to see that. There is kind of, you probably can't tell from there. Let me just see if I can like, maybe make it a bit bigger. You can see there the menorah, the candlestick there. It's a procession of the spoils of Jerusalem from that conflict. So this was built in the year 82 AD, if I'm remembering correctly, and the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD. So just wrap your mind around how ancient, how old that is, and it's still standing there today. And I just thought that was so super cool. So then when we were in Rome, we actually took a trip up, a train trip up to Florence. So we were there in Florence for a couple of days, and I didn't do a lot of bookish stuff in Florence. Of course, it's the city of the Renaissance, so I've read a lot about the Renaissance, but as far as bookish kind of stuff, there we did go to a palace that was by the Riccardi. It was owned by the Riccardi family, which was a Renaissance family that had a very important and famous Renaissance library. We did not get a chance to see the library. We didn't plan ahead, and we didn't plan it well. Apparently, you can go see the library, but you have to plan ahead for that and make arrangements for that. So we did not do that. So we did not see the Riccardi family library. We did see an exhibit of Leonardo's, from his sketchbook, his machines and devices and things like that, all actually created so that that was actually an interactive thing. You could actually, turn the cranks and pulleys and things. So that was kind of cool. The only book I picked up in Florence was this 100 Cats in Art. And it's really, sounds kind of cheesy, right? But it's really kind of cool because it shows like, a cat from a famous artwork, and then there's a little quote opposite, just about a cat. And this particular one says, "Many animals have their own constellation shining in the sky by night. Cats don't have it. Their brilliant eyes are enough to light the path." And for you cat lovers out there, that's true. There's a very kind of cool picture of a cat. There's 100 of these. I actually bought this. This is actually a gift for a friend of mine, so I'm not going to keep this. I'm going to gift this to someone, but yeah. Bought this in Florence. So then Florence, we went back to Rome for a few days, but then from there, we went to Lisbon, Portugal. So if you've seen my channel, you've seen many of my tags, I'm always talking about Fernando Pessoa. My favorite poet of all time is from Lisbon, Portugal. I am actually wearing a t-shirt here that I got from, this has got a Pessoa quote. Here is it in Portuguese. I'll read you the translation of it, though, in English, because I just think it's such a cool translation. I mean, it's such a cool kind of quote, but practically anything Pessoa writes to me is cool. But the quote actually on this shirt says, "The value of things isn't in the time that they last, but in the intensity that they happen. Because of this, there exist moments unforgettable. things inexplicable, and people incomparable. So I love that. I think that's so cool. And then I picked up this kind of stylized, kind of like cool graphic. Pessoa, you know, famous for wearing that hat, black hat and this kind of coat. So I've got this coffee mug that says Fernando Pessoa. So yeah, but then another thing Lisbon's famous for is the oldest bookstore and oldest continually operating bookstore in the world. Founded in 1732, so it's been around and open and selling books for a really super long time. Let me just pull up. I have some pictures, a couple of pictures I did manage for this one. I managed to take a couple of pictures. Here is the certificate, established in 1732. Bertrand Bookshop, located in Lisbon, Portugal, is the oldest operating bookshop. So there's their certificate. Here is my partner, Luciano, outside of the bookstore on the corner there, the Livraria Bertrand, the Bertrand bookstore in Lisbon, Portugal. And then they have this thing, and they have a kind of a sign, you probably can't read that, within the bookstore. They have a Pessoa room, which I did not take a picture of, you know, because I'm terrible at that. But they have a Pessoa room in the bookstore, which I was really cool. But they have this little sign that says, "We witnessed one earthquake, one civil war, 9 kings, 1 regicide, 16 presidents, 3 republics, 6 coups, 2 world wars, building of a wall and its fall, the unification of Europe and changing to the euro, and we have the books to tell you all about it." I love that. I think that's so cool. And I got this bag here at the bookshop because I ended up buying this book, which I'll talk about here in a bit, but here's the bag. It says, "To read gravely harms ignorance." To read gravely harms ignorance. Amen. Yeah, so while I was there, I picked up this little book. This is Middlemarch by George Eliot. This is a, let's see, who's the publisher? It's a Macmillan Collector's Edition. Isn't it cute? It's got this like gold pages there. It's got a little ribbon in it. It's just such a cute little book, and I just couldn't resist it. They had a lot of English language classic titles for sale in this bookstore, and yeah, I just couldn't resist it. So this was my book purchase in Lisbon at the Bertrand Bookshop. Middlemarch is, if you've seen my channel, I've also talked about Middlemarch before by George Eliot, probably among the top 3 of my favorite novels of the 19th century, for sure. So I believe it or not, did not own a physical copy of this anymore. So yeah, decided to pick that up. And then finally, you know, fado. So fado isn't bookish, but fado is a musical form of Portugal. It is, you know, it's kind of born out of the working class of the 19th century, peasant class of Lisbon, urban peasant class. And we actually saw a musical called Severa, Severa was the kind of the founder of fado in the 19th century. And this musical was pretty cool. It's like part Hamilton, part Les Mis. And it was really cool, but this fado is kind of dramatic. It's really dramatic. It's really operatic, but it's not opera, obviously, but it's very dramatic music, and it's very emotional. And so I thought this cup was really kind of funny because, yeah, she's kind of crying her saudades into the mar there, and the music's playing. So got a chance to hear some fado while I was in Lisbon, which I also loved. So yeah, it was a great trip and great to get away. I did manage to, on those long flights, I did manage to get quite a bit of reading done. So I have some book chats coming up, so be looking forward to those in the next few days. I will be uploading at least 2, and probably we'll have 3 coming up very soon. So until next time, take care. Bye.